Европскиот рентген на македонските реформи покажа умерена дијагноза со хронични проблеми. Потребна ефективна имплементација на законите и дијалог меѓу власта и опозицијата. Пофалби за македонските напори за прва меѓувладина конференција со ЕУ и молк за бугарските клубови со спорни имиња во Македонија. Во продолжение, политички витраж за извештаите на Европската комисија за напредокот на регионот и Македонија. Македонија е умерено подготвена на Европскиот пат во однос на реформите. Ова е оценката на Европската комисија за напредокот на земјата. Според Брисел, направени се интензивни напори кои доведоа до одржувањето на првата меѓувладина конференција на Македонија со ЕУ, но има уште работа и тоа во борбата со корупцијата, јавната администрација, работата на собранието, судските реформи, медиумите.
Ова треба да биде дел на национален проект кој што ќе ги вклучува сите делови на политичките партии.
Извештајот на Европската комисија е добар, бидејќи има напредок во сите области, вели премиерот, а според Ковачевски, овој извештај е единствен до сега по една работа.
И ова е прв извештај на Европската комисија во историјата на сите извештаи, каде што опозицијата е полошо оценета од владата. Значи немало таков извештај до сега. Затоа зашто блокадите на собранието, нефункционалноста на собранието не е предизвикана од владата, туку напротив е предизвикана од страна на опозицијата, од чисто политички прашања.
Главен заклучок на извештајот е дека кај владата нема сериозна и суштинска посветеност на реформите, коментираат од ВМРО ДПМН во нивната реакција за најновиот извештај од Брисел.
Огромен проблем за владата е што Европската комисија ја наведува оценката дека нема никаков напредок во спроведување токму на препораките од Европската комисија во извештајот од изминатата година. Тоа се однесува особено на препораките за реформа на јавната администрација, градење на конкуренција на пазарот, слободно движење на стоки и работници, како и правото на интелектуална сопственост. Ова значи дека владата воопшто не ги земала предвид препораките на Европската комисија.
Оливер Вархеј денеска пред официјалната пресконференција која што ја имаше со медиумите, претходно образлагаше пред европратениците или пред АФЕТ, тоа е високото тело за надворешна политика во рамки на Европскиот парламент. Таму ги образлагаше и кажуваше критиките, пофалбите и оние работи кои што мора да се направат во однос на извештаите на сите земји од Западен Балкан, па така пред европратениците ја пофали Македонија за напредокот, поточно за напорите кои што ги направи во однос на одржувањето на првата меѓувладина конференција на Македонија со Европската унија. Во однос на Албанија спомна и кажа дека мора да продолжи со реформскиот процес. Оно што беше исто така интересно да се спомне е тоа што токму таму европратениците пак побараа визна либерализација за Косово, но сепак тоа не стои во извештајот на Европската комисија за Косово. Од друга страна во однос на реформите за Црна Гора се кажа дека има одреден застој поради внатрешно политичките случувања. За Србија имаше критики дека треба да воведе санкции во однос на Русија и со тоа да ги изедначи своите политики со Европската унија, додека пак она што дефинитивно денеска беше фокус во Брисел беше условената препорака од Европската комисија за добивање кандидатски статус на Босна и Херцеговина за преговори со Европската унија. Тоа денеска го кажа и еврокомесарот за проширување Оливер Вархеј, но и високиот представник за надворешна политика на Европската унија Жозе Борел. А за реформските процеси во ова издание на Европат разговараме со Кристијан Кастања, политички аналитичар кој работи во францускиот Сенат. Кастања е основач на Тинк Тенк организацијата Соседство и ја наблюдува состојбата на Балканот од раните 90-ти. Политички советник во француските влади предводени од социјалистите од 1991 до 2017. Го прашувам, каде го лоцира проблемот за долгото тапкање во место во однос на реформите?
So, the fact is that North Macedonia is on the way to European Union since a long time. And during that time, people are losing their confidence on the process. They are what we call the European fatigue. And if you want to be, let's say, motivated to follow the process, you need to have an agenda. You need to have more guarantee on the fact that the process will be exhausted. And at the moment, I think it is the main problem that you face, not only on the side of North Macedonia, but also on the side of France and other countries. It means that if you are not sure that the path that you are following will arrive to somewhere where you are not motivated to follow the path. And I think that at the moment, if we don't give to North Macedonia, if we don't give to Albania a clear agenda with a clear date of accessing the European Union, there is no way, and nobody will be really motivated to follow the process. More or less, I think that it is the main obstacle that we face today on this process of joining the European Union.
Работата на собранието е нарушена од политичка поларизација која го одложи носењето на многу закони. Дијалогот жанно не постои, но нема вистински конкретен дијалог меѓу власта и опозицијата. Како до ефективно решение на ситуацијата?
So, some years ago, I was participating to European missions organized by the Socialists, the Party of European Socialists. I know that the European People Party made the same. I think that if the European parties belonging to the European Union are not, let's say, involved in the Macedonian process, it means that we let the local political parties between them, and then there is no chance to go further. If we want to have a clear political discussion at the moment inside the Parliament of North Macedonia, we need to have more involvement from the side of European parties. Because in that case, when you are at the European Parliament, it is not possible to have a resolution voted if we don't have before informal discussion between the Greens, between Renew, with people from the Social Democratic parties, and so on and so on. It means that we needed to be more and more present in Macedonia, in Skopje, to show to these political actors that they are not kept alone. They are not alone. They have to discuss, because it is the only way to go further. It is the way we are working in France, because at the moment there is no clear majority at the National Assembly. It is the way that the German Assembly is working. It is the way that the European Assembly is working. If we are not able on our side to make more and more commitments in Skopje, we don't give any kind of example to follow. It is my opinion, and it is what we have done in the earliest time. And today, instead of political parties, you have more and more commitments coming from the European political foundations. But I think it is not enough, because we can't go further with just the action of political foundations. We need more and more to have political support and clear political support, instead of having commissioners or other people, administrative people coming to Skopje. We need more and more political support to show to the local politicians that they are not kept alone, and they have to be also in that kind of European way of working and making the law.
Јавната администрација е редовно една од најслабите алки во реформскиот процес. Има преобемна јавна администрација и проблеми со нејзината реорганизација. Забележана е одредена борба против непотизмот и политичкото влијание, но таа не дава потребни резултати. Како да се справиме со овој тежок и комплексен проблем? Што треба наитно да се направи во реформата на јавната администрација?
Well, it's quite funny, because when you are already inside the EU, if you are in France, if you are in Belgium, you already, criticizing every day the administration saying that the administration doesn't work efficiently, and so on and so on. So it means that if you are on the path to European integration, we have a right to criticize your administration, but if you are already inside, it is finished. So just to tell you that, in fact, the problem is not only with public administration. The fact is the link that you have between the public administration and the internal work market. Because if you want to have, let's say, a public administration which work efficiently, you need to have people working with good wages. You need to have people clearly, educated, and so on and so on. But more and more, when you are in Skopje, when you are in Belgrade, you see that people working in the public administration leaving this administration because they have no clear motivation to stay inside. So it is very easy to criticize public administration, but it is another path to discuss how to have good people inside the good administration. Because another subject, for example, when you're in Macedonia, but it's also the same in Serbia and other countries, just find how many translators or interpreters you have inside the public administration. You don't have a lot. And it means that at the end, when you need to translate European regulation, you need to go through Google Translate. And at the end, you have a text or a text which is not clearly translated because you don't have the people inside the administration able to make this job. So the problem is not with how the public administration is clearly functioning, but how the public administration is able, to have good people and good skilled people making the job. And if we are not able to have that kind of discussion, it is very easy to say that the administration is not making its job.
Во однос на судството и борбата против корупцијата се наведува дека има уште многу работа. Кои се вашите препораки и совети?
So the chance that you have in North Macedonia is that you have a lot of NGOs and some independent medias which are making the job and which are clearly, investigating on what happens in the public life. But it is not enough because when you have some intervention from NGOs or medias, it is because it is too late because you have already a scandal or something which is going wrong. The best way, it is what we have done in France, for example, in the 80s, in the 90s. When you face that kind of situation, very often you are making a commission or you are making an ethics committees, and the job is to make some recommendation to prevent that kind of situation with corruption, with that kind of problem. And what you have to do is to strengthen that kind of independent bodies able to make that kind of prevention. For example, if you have a local politician elected at the National Assembly, to be sure that this politician has not, for example, interest in the public companies, or that local politician has not interest in the local companies and so on, just to make that check before, to be sure that it could be a good politician, to be sure that in case of public tenders, that the shareholders of companies answering to public tenders are totally cut from the political world and so on and so on. It means that on one side you have got, of course, civil society, but on the other side, it is clear that you need to develop ethics committee able to make that job, to be sure that your local politicians and national politicians are clear of all that kind of trouble or that kind of criticism.
Франција сака да му помогне на македонското правосудство, а имаше и средби со експерти. Како Франција може да помогне?
Well, for example, I'm working at the French Parliament, at the Senate. We can easily develop some bilateral cooperation between the French Senate or the French National Assembly with the North Macedonian National Assembly to develop legislation able to develop that kind of ethics committee. It is not a problem because we have, in the 80s and 90s, as I told you before, we faced a lot of corruption affairs. We still face some corruption affairs today. But due to the fact that we have a clear legislation with courts able to make the investigation and so on, it is very easy to invite some people from the Macedonian side in Paris to have some bilateral discussion to show them exactly how it works. And after, in the case of different clusters that Macedonia will have to follow for the European path, to develop a kind of cooperation, to develop the legislation and so on, able to create that kind of committees able to prevent that kind of situation.
Еврокомесарот Вархеј рече дека процесот на скрининг, кој започна пред неколку недели, треба да се искористи за целосна имплементација на реформите. Можете ли да објасните на кој начин и како да се користи скринингот?
So the fact is that with all these 6 applicant countries from the Western Balkans, they are not on the same line at the beginning. So it means that we need to make a screening to be sure that the path that we will discuss with the country will be the more reliable and reliable path that the country will follow. For example, if you compare situation with minorities in Serbia or minorities in North Macedonia, it is not the same kind of situation because it is not the same history, it is not the same representation of the National Assembly and so on and so on. So it means that if we want to discuss that subject, we will not discuss the subject in the same way with Serbia than with Macedonia, North Macedonia. If you and you have a lot of subjects like this, in which we need to have a clear point of local situation. It is a situation why we need to have a screening, because no matter if you belong to the same country 30 years ago, in the last 30 years, things have changed in each country in different ways, and we need now to see how we can make this convergence of all these local legislation to the what we call acquis communautaire, to be sure that everything will be well understood by the country, and to be sure that the efforts that the country will have to do will be supported by the European Union and by all the tools that the European Union can use to support and to help this applicant country.
Пресконференцијата не помина без политичка порака за односите со Бугарија. Вархеј не сакаше да го коментира именувањето на бугарските клубови со фашистички имиња во Македонија. Дали ЕУ на вистина треба да молчи за ова? Сепак има поголем обем, а реагираше еврејската заедница.
Well, the problem is clearly with Bulgaria. When you see that this country doesn't have a clear governing majority since 2 years, the fact is that today the European Union is not able, to speak clearly and with Bulgaria. When you see different things inside the country, situation with Russia and so on, well, that's a fact. And the other fact is that the European Union and the European Council are not competent to discuss historical issues. So it is very dangerous to consider that Bulgaria could use a veto right to block discussion with North Macedonia. And it is the situation that we face today. And because we want to avoid that situation, we are not ready, or we don't want to speak very clearly with Bulgaria. That's a fact. But it is not only with Bulgaria, it is exactly the same situation with Croatia when we are discussing about Bosnia and Herzegovina. We prefer to avoid to discuss problems, to avoid other problems with other topics.
За сега е тешко да се воведат уставни измени. Опозицијата бара референдум и тие се на став дека нема да гласаат за промена на уставот и вметнување на бугарите во него. Некои од граѓаните имаат дилема. Дали добивме непристоен предлог од Бугарија со посредство на Париз, и ако не го исполниме, ние ќе бидеме виновни во очите на Европската Унија, а не Софија?
Yes, it is exactly what I have told you before. The fact is today you are not on the same position if you belong or not to the European Union. And today, as I told you, it is impossible from the side of the European Union or from the side of the European Council to take a position on historical issues. The fact is up to Sofia and Skopje to discuss this topic and not to involve the European Union on it. And it is totally scandalous to have a situation, in fact, in a way where Brussels would have to discuss about that situation between Sofia and Skopje. And because of the fact that Sofia and Bulgaria belong to the European Union, to give a clear support to Sofia and Bulgaria, even if their position is not a good one. It is a total, collapse of value on my side, on my personal fact. And really, on that point, it is, totally schizophrenic to see what Skopje has done with Greece, with Athens, with and to see that we are not able to make the same path between Skopje and Sofia, because it is a win-win challenge which has been made between Greece and North Macedonia, but definitively the discussion which is now underway between Bulgaria and North Macedonia is not on the same way, and it is a clear problem. And a day or another one, we will have to take a clear position on it, because we can't continue like this.
Фокусот во Брисел сепак овие денови го украде Босна и Херцеговина со условената препорака за кандидатски статус од страна на Европската комисија. Треба да помине низ многу филтри за тоа да се случи. Колку е возможно ова?
Well, we are 30 years after the beginning of the war in former Yugoslavia. And I was in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1991, 1992, and it is totally. I can't imagine today to see that the two remaining countries which are not on the European path are Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And effectively, when you see the remarks made yesterday by Vareli on the Bosnian accession to the European Union, well, never we have spoke like this with Serbia. Never we have put that kind of condition so clearly with Serbia. So it means that when you see the result of the last elections in Bosnia and Herzegovina, something is happening in this country. We see that today some citizens are reacting on the way how this country has been managed since 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And the way how the European Union have to support this country is to support these citizens. If not, it means that we'll have to only to support HDZ, SDR, and SNSD, and it would be a full collapse of European value. And also, of course, it is Vareli who is in charge of European integration, and everybody knows where Vareli is coming from. But definitively, it is not the way how to discuss with Bosnia and Herzegovina today.
Европската комисија ја критикуваше Србија дека не воведува санкции против Русија, но досега Вучич нема дадено изјава дека нешто ќе промени на тој план. Можеме ли да очекуваме ЕУ санкции кон Белград?
Well, so you have maybe seen that on the discussion that has taken place yesterday at the General Assembly of the United Nations, Serbia has voted in favor on the resolution saying that supporting the territorial integrity of Ukraine. It is something which is very important. But in the same time, it is very also interesting to see that Vučić has not supported Dodik and SNSD during the last elections in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it means that on one way, Vučić is very close to this kind of non-aligned diplomacy followed by Tito some years ago. He wants to be close to Russia. He wants to be close to Arab monarchies in Far East. He wants to be close to everybody, but there is a moment when it will be not possible anymore. For example, how to continue with Nice when you see that the main shareholders is Gazprom. Definitively, it is a problem, and Vučić will have to choose at a time with this dilemma. When you see today the fact that why Vučić is behind or close to Russia, just due to the fact that Russia is supporting Serbia on all discussions that you have at the Security Council of the United Nations concerning the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. That's all. But today, the main European partners of Serbia is the European Union, not Russia. There will come a time when Vučić will have to choose between European Union and other partners. Even, yesterday in this interim report made on Serbia, That point has been put on the agenda, saying, saying that Serbia has clearly to follow this European foreign policy. If not, if the situation between Russia and Ukraine is still, deteriorating, you can be sure that Serbia will have to choose. On the French side, maybe that we have some discussion with Russia concerning the sale of Rafale planes. It is obvious that if Russia doesn't choose between East and West, never we will have that kind of plan. Never.
Гледавте Европат. Останете со програмата на телевизија 24.